Hey everybody, Mike Steele here with BBQ Champs Academy live, and we are got a great show lined up for you tonight. Mr. Adam Gotro and Mr. Jason White are with us. They had an outstanding weekend this past week down at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and we'll talk a lot about that. That was a fun event, first time ever going, and it was quite the adventure. More than I anticipated, and was absolutely amazed at the amount of people there. Adam was giving me some stats of how many people they had come through that place, and we'll talk a little bit about that. If y'all have questions about that, certainly ask, and we will see if we can get them answered. And I'll give you some of my input of some of the things that I had seen and everything when I was down there as well. So it was very, very interesting, to say the least. People everywhere and teams. I think there was 252 teams, if I recall. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely the biggest party that in Texas by far. So anyway, but it was a good time, and I can say that I've done it, and would I do it again? Man, as long as there's good weather, I would hate to know that was going on with the pouring down rain or freezing cold temperatures. It would not be funny. It would not be fun to do if you didn't have one big massive tent to be in or a trailer to cook out of. So, but we'll bring our guest on here in just a minute. If you are popping on tonight, please let me know by giving us a little shout coming in. We got Mr. Bud Brown with us tonight. Mr. Slate, thank you for joining us. John, appreciate you being with us. Lance, glad that you're with us tonight. And a good evening from Weatherford, Texas. Miss Tammy, thank you for being with us as well. Mr. Josh Michelli, Mike, did you have a cowboy hat? No, I left the cowboy hat to Adam. So there's only room for one in Louisiana to have the hat, and I left that for Adam. Wasn't about to steal his thunder. Oh, goodness gracious. Shauna, thank you for being with us. Mr. Chuck, glad to have you with us. Hope you're doing better and everything with everything you've had going on here lately. Mr. Jason, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here. We've got a few folks already coming in. And we're going to kind of keep this maybe short and simple a little bit tonight. I don't know where Aaron is. He may be cooking. So I know Lee Hickle is down in San Antonio. And I would imagine that's where Aaron is at as well. They have the ACE convention down there, and I think Mark Lambert's there, Lee Hickle's there. If I recall, Aaron went down there as well, so he may not have been able to make it, and I forgot to check with him before I made the post this morning. So anyway, we'll have a great show no matter what. Larry, thank you for joining us all the way from South Jersey. Mr. Kyle, appreciate you being here. I hope to see you in next weekend. We'll be in, well, not this weekend, weekend after, down in Bow Bridge, Louisiana. If you are looking for a cook-off to go to, they've got one in Bow Bridge, just about 5 miles north of Lafayette. I understand it's a $10,000 payout. They've got about 40 teams signed up. Beautiful RV park at Poche's RV Park. They've got a fully stocked pond. All the campers line up around the pond. You literally back right up to it. It is a fun event. And if you are looking for a competition that pays really good money, maybe if you're in South Texas or something, man, you might want to put that one on your bucket list, because it is a fun competition to go to. Mr. Butch, appreciate you being with us tonight. Mr. Jason, thank you for joining us. Did everybody get through the thunderstorms? We did. It was a pretty good bit of rain, and man, a pretty good bit of wind as well. But we definitely got our share of the rain. It came in about 7 o'clock this morning. About 12 or 1 o'clock it blew out. So who else we got here? Antonio, thank you for being with us tonight. Antonio, Anthony, thank you for being here. Damon Blue, thank you for joining us. Glad you're with us tonight, brother. Mr. Kyle, let's see, had to cancel out of that one. I hate to miss it. Man, I hate to hear that. Mr. Danny, it's good seeing you, brother, this past weekend down in Houston. And glad that you made it home safely as well. And tell Miss Rhonda, Aaron just texted me, said, no, sorry, I couldn't make it. So anyway, tell Rhonda I do appreciate those nice little muffins that she made for me. They were absolutely delicious. That was my snack going home. So Michael, appreciate you being with us. Jared, thank you. All the way from Canada is joining us tonight. Mr. Matt, we appreciate you being here. And Alan, thank you for being here. I'm going to be overnight in Midland and shopping at the Midland Meat Market in the morning. Thank you. Think if I mention Aaron's name, I'll get special consideration. Now, they'll probably charge you double. So just tell them that you see us on our show with Aaron all the time. That's about the best you can do. I got Aaron texting me right now. I think he's probably telling me that I did not realize it was Tuesday. So, Ace Hardware Show. That's what I thought. So, anyway, oh, goodness. Well, I tell you what, it's time to kick this thing off, man. We all guys got John J.J. Jensen from Alaska. We appreciate you being here. I'm starting a petition to get Damon Blue back to cooking. Yeah, it would be a good idea. It would be great to have them, him and Rachel back to cooking again for sure. Well, I tell you what, let's bring in our men of the hour. Two guys that teamed up on them this weekend, and I know they cook some good food. I cook against these guys all the time down in South Louisiana. First up, we got Mr. Adam Gautreaux. Hey, brother, with Cajun Blaze. How you doing, brother?
All right.
Man, I tell you what, you got that hat sporting very well. Everybody's asking, where's your hat? And I was like, man, I'm saving that for Adam because he's the only one that can pull that off. So
Gotta have a hat when you go to the rodeo.
maybe that's what I did. That's what I was missing. So
Got to have it.
also, next up, Mr. Jason White with Cajun Juju. How you doing, brother?
Good. How about yourself, Mike?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was a long weekend. It was an exciting weekend. It was something that if you've never been to, that's a party in a that's a party in a parking lot right there. like I have. I thought the American Royal was probably one of the tops that you could go to. I know on Friday night at the Royal they'll have 40,000 people come through there on a Friday night, and man, when I was at that place, I think just one row had 20,000 people on it. So I was kind of guesstimating there probably had to be between 50 and 60,000. And then Adam gave me the numbers. Adam, over the 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, how many people did they say goes through that place?
Well, when I had asked last year, they told me about 250,000.
Jiminy Christmas. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of food. That is a lot of booze. That is a lot of folks. So it was quite interesting to say. I mean, you could not walk. You were shoulder to shoulder everywhere you walked, and it didn't matter which row you went up and down. I was trying to run around to try to find people. It was a little hard because everybody's either in a tent or out in somewhere that I didn't know where they were at. And I was certainly glad that y'all came over to my spot and at least told me where y'all was at. So it made it nice to be able to catch up with you guys. And Max was able to fly in. We was kind of concerned. He was the San Antonio winner and Sons of Smoke. And Max knew he was not going to be able to make it there by Thursday. He had some family emergency that his wife's twin sister had been sick, and he was not going to be able to come in until Friday if he was going to make it. And I at least got everything set up, the meat inspected and all that. And then finally he made the decision on Thursday at 7 o'clock that he was going to be able to fly in. 9 o'clock on Friday night is when he got there and was able to cook. So had a good time. I mean, it was quite interesting. A couple takeaways. Number one, I was certainly glad that the weather was good because I would hate to have been cooking out in a parking lot with maybe a 10 by 10 tent at best is all we had, and or if it was freezing cold. So have you guys had a cook in conditions like that at the rodeo?
Every time I went, it's been pretty good. I think Adam and them 2 years ago, Adam, were y'all there?
2 or 3.
Freezing cold. And
It was freezing. We just had cotton gloves and rubber gloves on all day and just bundled up, and every little crack you could, you just covered yourself up.
Yeah. So Adam, do y'all have a tent? Now I know you. Tell us who you all are cooking for. So why don't Jason? Let's save Adam's voice a little bit because Adam, thank you for being here. Adam, I was wondering, was anybody going to get sick with that many people down there? And Adam got sick. He said he gets sick every year. So we're going to save a little bit of his voice. So Jason, who are y'all cooking for?
Well, me and Adam cook for BBQ Social Club, and then we cook in the same tent as Texas Social Club.
Okay.
So it's Adam might could know exactly what size the tent is, but it's probably like 60 by 80 tent or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, it's big.
It's a
Yeah,
one tent with two owners, so they get two cook spots.
they get two cook
It,
spots. Okay, okay. So do y'all have covered, like, if it was, say, pouring down rain? Cold's one thing. I think I can handle anything that's cold. But it's the rain, driving rain, especially, especially when you're just cooking on some drums out in the parking lot. Then you're trying to keep everything on your table and you're cutting boards dry and it's pouring down rain. So, do y'all have any kind of tent? Or, Adam, when you cooked, you had bad weather. Have you ever cooked in rainy weather?
A little rain there, but we've always been underneath a cover, except for this year. They kind of expanded the size of the tent. But if it was really bad weather, we would just scoot in. We had an
Okay.
option to cook in it. It's the tent's very big.
Yeah, it was. I think it's probably the biggest tent that I've seen.
It
That
is the biggest tent there,
it's
so I'm
it's
told.
big. Yeah, and it looked like it was 2 stories tall. So that you was not gonna miss the big black tent. You said go over there and find the big black tent. You can't miss it, and you was right. There was no missing that thing, and you're probably right. That thing was probably at least 60 foot wide and 80 or 100 foot long. It was absolutely enormous.
It
So how
is
many
giant.
how many people y'all have come through that deal a night?
I think they can put 1,660 people in there at a time. And I've seen it in the past where they actually have to stop people from coming in. At
That's absolutely insane.
and
And
they start serving hogs around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And normally they'll serve them hogs with all the sides probably about 2.5 hours. The hogs will last. They're cooking two hogs. They're probably roughly, 275 to 300 pound hogs. And they got two people serving two lines, and the lines are just out the door. You know,
nonstop.
I'm nonstop.
And I'm sure that's got some sides and fixings and all that with it.
Yeah,
So,
brisket, mac and cheese, corn, beans, pickles, peppers, onions. It's pretty good. It's a real good meal. A lot of sausage.
right, right. Man alive. Who does all the cooking
There's a whole staff just for that.
just for that? And y'all are there just to cook the barbecue, or do y'all help with that as well?
We are there just to cook the barbecue.
There you go.
We
All
got a
right.
sweet gig.
Yeah, you do. That's a pretty good deal. All you got to do is just cook.
Yeah.
So, y'all teamed up and cooked together. Did y'all cook all three meats?
Yes.
Okay. So, we'll talk a little bit. Chicken. I know you was a finalist in chicken. You finished fourth overall in chicken. Is that correct?
Yes.
Man, that's good. 252 teams, fourth overall. My gosh, that is
Amazing.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a crapshoot. I mean, I think they said there was 5 or 6 judges, and I think he told me there was 5 judges on a table. Do y'all remember if that's correct?
I think the rules state 5 judges, and if you
And
put in pieces of meat, you have to have 6 pieces. Uh, in case there's a tiebreaker,
in
but
case
the
there's a
requirements
tiebreaker.
were much higher than that this year.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what he said. It's 5 judges, and then if there's a tie, I think that's when they get another judge involved or something like that. So, anyway, yeah, it was one chicken half. We did 9 ribs instead of 10 ribs, and they did 10 slices of brisket. So, and it was interesting. I will tell you, Travis was my ambassador, and I want to kind of clear up some of the stuff that I've heard about, how some of these ambassadors are pretty ruthless, right? And I've heard horror stories in the past when we've had people back on talking about that they are so stringent on the rules that they won't let you do certain things, this, that, and everything else. So one of the things that we had Robert Smith on our show last year, and one of the things that he said is when you're trying to get 10 slices of brisket in the box, sometimes that can be pretty hard. So he asked this guy, it doesn't say how big the slice is. It just says a slice of brisket. So he sliced the brisket in half, took a whole slice, cut it in half, and put the 2 pieces in the box. That counted as 2 slices. And so I asked my ambassador, I said, Travis, may be hard to get 10 slices. Can I cut a slice in half, put it in the back of the box? He said, that's 2 slices. So if I put 2 slices back there cut in half, he said, you got 4 slices. You can put 6 whole slices in front of it. And I was like, well, that's really cool to know. And I was like, I've heard pretty bad stories about people having some issues with the ambassadors and stuff like that. And he said, let me just kind of clear the air. And this guy was really cool. We was on Champions Row is where me and Max was at. So we had a really good ambassador that really knew the rules. And he said, look, he said, I'm here to help facilitate y'all's cooking. I don't want to be a hindrance. Y'all have spent a ton of money buying meats, your time, everything getting in here. I just want to follow what the rules say and not bring in anything else. I'm not going to exert my authority over where it's not supposed to be. If it's in the rule book, it's in the rule book. If not, that's it. I'm not going to insert anything else. So I said, so what do you do if you have an ambassador that's just really being a horse's butt about stuff, and you've got one way and he's saying no, you can't do it? And he said the best thing to do, and this is for anybody listening that cooks it, if you have something that you're in a big disagreement with the ambassador, he said the first thing, don't get in an argument. Tell him you need to talk to one of his committee members. The committee member comes over there, and then you address him and say, here's what I'm trying to do. I don't see why this is a problem. It's been done before. This guy's telling me I can't do it. What say you? And he said that gets away the egos of somebody that knows more about it than, what they're really supposed to not be doing, right? So I thought that was really good information. The way that they went on, the way that he told me if you ever have that, how you go about handling it. And have y'all ever had an issue with your ambassador trying to be a little stringent when the rules say something different?
So far, we've been pretty lucky. It is a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get. And I don't think I ever did the same thing every year that I was there. The first 3 years I went there with trimmed meat. And now they say you can't cut it out the pack till they watch you do it. It's just something different every time, I believe.
All right. So I showed up with everything trimmed and vacuum sealed. My brisket was trimmed, vacuum sealed, ribs trimmed, vacuum sealed, and chicken halves were already cut and vacuum sealed. What I was told was, as long as it is vacuum sealed, you could trim it. So that was what I was told. And Jason Sagmiller was the one that told me that as well. He had talked to 2 board members, and they said, we're going to make some exceptions on the rules from what it may have been in the past. Instead of everybody having to sit there and trim everything, if you've got everything trimmed, that's it, just trimmed and vacuum sealed in a commercial vacuum sealer, you're perfectly fine to bring it in. So I was a little concerned when I saw Tim and Tony over there with Taste of South Texas, because they had won it last year. They had everything still in the pack, and I was like, oh my God. And I walked over to Robert, and I was like, Robert, you got your meat? Because Robert Smith was next to me, and I said, you got your stuff trimmed? He said, oh, it's trimmed in vacuum packs. I was like, he said, that's just rookies over there. Robert just having a good time playing with people. So, but and I had asked them about that, and they said, no, as long as it's vacuum sealed, you're good to go. That's perfectly fine. So, but yeah, I mean, it does make you a little worrisome about going down there with trim meats, because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, if I have to go, I guess I'm gonna be going to Walmart to go get or go to HEB to go get a brisket. So but yeah, I mean, it is kind of all over the rules sometimes, but that was a rule that supposedly that had changed.
I had some ambassadors before that would have some pretty strict guidelines of what you could and couldn't do, and then I also had them to where they said, all I care about is that tag on that meat, that it matches, and you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, that was pretty much, what they would say. He was like, we want to tag it. He said, don't you cut nothing, And he was pretty cool. And I don't know if your ambassador was like this, but I just sit there and I told him my process. Because, I had never done it before with tagged meat. So I just said, look, my chicken's going to have everything cooked on it. It's going to come right off the grill. And I said, if I have to rest it, I'll put it in a pan and rest it for 5 minutes. And he was like, that's fine. So he got there about 5 minutes early, and really wasn't early, but there was we was kind of all in the same little area. They was over there going over the one team. He walked over there and he said, are you about ready? And I said, well, my chicken's coming off now. And he said, well, if you put it up here on the cutting board, he said, I'll look at your tag and I'll be back in 5 minutes for you to box it. And I was like, okay. He said, if you want to go ahead. So I pulled the tag off, and I flipped it up where he could read the number. He's seen it, and we cut the tag off right then. He said, okay, you can put it right there in that Cambro. I know where it's at. It's only chicken in the pan. And he said, in about 5 minutes, I'll be back. So it was funny when I took the tag off. I left a little hole because I had punched it through the wing, and I had some barbecue sauce. I had it on a wire wrap with foil. And I said, can I take this sauce that's on the pan and just touch it where that tag was? He said, anything that's on the pan, you're perfectly fine using. So I just took it and I just put one little dab there just to kind of seal that hole up a little bit. So there was some leniency on some of that stuff. He said anything that's cooked in the pan or with the bird or with the brisket or ribs can be used. It doesn't have to go back in the smoker. He said, if you take sauce on the cutting board and put in it, it's got to go back in the smoker and then cut out. It's got to be cooked on. Is that how your guys did?
That's right.
They did the same way for y'all?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you had to close up that little hole with a little sauce and it was off the pit, you got to go put it back on the pit.
Right. But if it was on your foil, you could use it.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't do that.
You didn't do that. So, well, he told me, like, I asked him about, like, if I wanted to do anything with the brisket slice. And he said, well, what do you normally do? I said, man, I may run a little au jus across it. And he said, if you just put au jus across it, he said, that's the cooking liquid that was with the brisket. You don't have to do anything. You can just au jus it and go to the box. If you said you put any kind of sauce on it or you do anything on the cutting board, then it's got to go back in the pit because that was something that was added. But anything that's in your foil or on your cutting board foil whenever you was cooking the chicken, he said that's part of the cooking process, so you don't have to go back. So it's interesting how some of these guys interpret the rules. But I just basically covered everything. I went through everything, how I was going to do everything, and he said, you're good. Everything's good. And I think it's kind of good to let them know because I'm sure everybody's got something a little bit different that they're doing. And if they're doing something that's a little bit different with every one of them, they probably at least want to know what your process is when they get there. Is that what y'all did with your rep?
Yeah, I think Adam kind of talked to him whenever we was tagging meat and said, look, when each meat, okay, my plans for this meat, and went through exactly what we was planning on doing with the step by step and can I do this, can I do that, and kind of ask some questions. Because every time it seems like it is a little bit different or you have, different way of taking stuff that they tell you.
Right. No issues with any of it though, right?
No.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so y'all had a 4th place chicken. What did y'all have in ribs?
57th.
Okay, that's a really good rib. That's good. That's strong. Well, I had a 40. My best was brisket. I had a 49th in brisket. I think I had a 97th in rib, and my chicken was pretty salty. It was 130th in chicken, and it was probably just a little too salty. We finished 70th overall, which, man, first time ever there, not knowing what they want. I was happy with the brisket and ribs. I didn't get too salty on either one of them. The chicken was the only thing a little salty. And it was probably because I've never cooked a 3.6 pound chicken. That was the smallest chicken I ever cooked in my life, but that was one tiny box. So, and then how did y'all finish in ribs? I mean, in a brisket?
22nd.
Dang, that's a strong finish. So where did y'all finish overall?
5th.
5th overall. Okay, man, that is 252 teams. Is that one of y'all's highest finishes y'all have had? Yeah,
yes.
That close. Highest finish. Two more walks and you'd been on the stage, right?
That's it, man.
How close was the score for overall? How far was you from 3rd place?
Man, I'll have to go back and look. I really don't remember.
I would imagine it was probably pretty tight. So
don't remember.
Wow.
All I know is it's just almost there on the overall and almost there on the chicken, and
Yeah, 1 away from the chicken and 2 on the overall. That's pretty good. Is that the high? And like you said, that's the highest place y'all ever finished?
That is the highest we ever. I think one year we may have finished 15th, and then 5th this year.
Okay, wow, man, that is really good. That is really good. Hey, if anybody's got any questions about anything that they've done at Houston or any of the questions of how the process works, man, we'd be glad to answer it. A lot of congratulations. There's Gina. Glad to have you with us tonight. Tony, glad to have you there. There's Darren. Yeah, Lucky
Like
Seven. Oh, it's
talking
pretty.
about that chicken being salty. So last year we cooked the chicken that I normally cook in BCA, and it's you know that it's pretty salty and all.
Right.
Here we said we was gonna cook it a little simpler, so I mixed up my injection about half of what I normally use. Adam mixed up his a little bit stronger, I think. So we cooked those. We cooked 2 practice halves Friday. I think it was
Friday.
Friday. We
Yeah.
cooked 2 practice halves, and then my dog meat was phenomenal. His breast meat was a lot better than my dog meat. So we were sitting there looking like, man, what to do? Well, we could inject the dog meat with mine, the breast meat with his, and we're like, nah, let's just mix them together. We mixed
That's
ours
what we did.
together, and that's what we ended up with.
Did y'all really? That
We
is
did.
awesome.
We couldn't decide whose was better, so we said, well, we know how to fix this.
And obviously they paired up pretty well. Got a fourth place chicken.
They did.
That is amazing.
Every
Oh,
time we do
goodness.
something crazy like that, it always works out for us.
And whenever
Uh,
we were
hey,
sitting there, and I had the bag open with pouring injections in there, and Adam looked at me and said, I think this would be good enough for 5th place.
wow.
Sure did.
Wow, that is crazy. Wow, wow, wow. Man, that is awesome. So anyway, well, I mean, sometimes it works. I mean, you didn't have nothing to lose. I mean, if it was both that good, mixing them together wasn't gonna like change anything.
Right.
So just
Both
kind
work.
of toned it down a little bit, probably because one's a
Exactly.
little bit more milder than the other. So ribs. So did y'all go with a sweeter rib, or did you kind of go with just a savory rib?
No, man. So that's every year I learn a little something every time I go there, and we just try to get away from the sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Try to
I
get away from the sweet.
I kind of
Just
felt
cooked a
like
simple rib with a savory side for sure.
savory side. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of the direction I went. I was not going to go over sweet. It was just savory with just a kiss of sweetness, but it was very little. Just something that was just really good, like almost like an eaten rib. Didn't have it pumped full of stuff. I mean, I thought it was one of the best ribs I've cooked in a long time. So
We
simple.
definitely had a good rib. I think I liked it much, and I think it's because it did have a hint of sweet on it, but not much at all. But maybe just a tad bit too much. I don't know. We did good though.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't beat that. And that's the thing. I mean, I don't know how many tables they had, 250 something teams with 5 judges on each one. So, do the math. That's a lot of tables. And
Jeez. And when you start thinking about it, it's just so many cooks, and then you turn in a perfect product, and all you could do is pray that that product lands in the top 30. Not
yeah,
even the top
yeah,
10, because that's wild to even think a
yeah.
meat would be in the top 10.
Yeah, so 252 teams at 5 judges is 50 tables. So and there was 5 on each table, 250. So you got 50 tables of 5 that are judging, and you got to have probably the top 3 or 4 tables that's going to be really good scoring tables. Maybe 5 tables if they only are taking 10. Maybe you may have something that hits the box that's pretty good. But worst case, if even just one box came off of a table, man, you got to find 10 out of 50, and that's hard to do. You got to cook good food, but it takes a lot of luck too. You got to catch some good tables. So,
And also, they forgot to bring our banner. That's another story.
are you serious?
Yeah, man, they came walking into the tent because another team is in there, and they made finals in brisket. So they did all their celebrating, picture taking, and all that. And, it was all over. And I was like, man, I can't believe those 3 meats we turned in. I had already hung my head and started walking back. And somebody kind of looked at me and went,
Like
chicken. I was like, what are you talking about? Well, when the ambassador got to our tent to bring the other team their banner,
Right?
they told her, oh, we forgot the other team made finals in chicken. We're going to come bring you a banner.
God. Oh, talk about heart failure.
Oh, it was hard. I had a heart attack. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. That's good crazy, but that's crazy right there.
And then I
Wow.
didn't believe it because I was like, how y'all forget that,
Yeah, like come on, man, that's the most important thing. So,
Because last year they finaled in chicken and we didn't final in nothing, and we were like, oh, I guess it looked like we did the same thing this year. They finaled in something and we didn't do nothing.
Yep.
wow, and then all of a sudden, oh well, we forgot, we forgot your stuff. Oh, goodness gracious.
But
All right.
man,
So,
it's something when they come in there with a banner. I mean, you already won. You don't need any other call or
right, right.
to get that banner. That's your trophy, you know.
That's it. That's it. You got a top 10. That's all you're shooting for at that point. Then you just
That's
hope you
it.
get called in the top three. One away from the stage and a bow legged trophy. Oh, goodness. All right, Maggie. Oh, hey, Maggie, how are you doing? Glad you're with us tonight. Was there a sausage category or that was a side dish?
There
So,
was an open category,
okay.
and we did some chicken breast stuff with some of Jason's boudin
Okay.
with pepper jack cheese wrapped in bacon, and we lined the middle of the box with some sliced boudin from Jason and some medallions of chicken breast and turned that in, and I believe that tied for 31st.
Wow. And that's pretty strong.
Yeah, it was.
That's pretty strong. Wow.
Yeah, especially when you're going against chicken. I mean, steak and shrimp.
Oh yeah, yeah. Almost everybody's cooking steak, shrimp. I've heard one guy was going to do a steak with bacon wrapped scallops. Yeah, it's crazy at the dishes and how they decorative they get with all that stuff.
We
So
knew we were going up against a bunch of steak and shrimp, but we was hoping we hit that boudin lovers table.
yeah, you ain't kidding. All I know, all I can say is, if you have never had Jason's boudin, you got to get some because that is the best boudin I have ever had in my life. I mean, it's amazing. And if you would, and Jason, is it made with pork?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you come to
O'Shea's.
Beauchet, bring me. I want 2 packs of. Well, there were 4 to a pack, right? I want 2 of them. I want 2 packs of 4.
I'll try and
So,
make.
yeah, if you got time to get me some, I'm giving you 9 days notice,
Yeah.
10-day notice.
I
Squeeze me in. So they're absolutely amazing. So what do you do, Jason? Do you have a meat shop or a market that you're doing this out of now, or you just do it out of your house?
I have built I got an outside shop in my outside,
Right.
I guess you'd say.
Okay.
Right. And it's all set up like a commercial kitchen. Kind of.
Okay. Is this all? Are you doing a full-time job in this on the side, or are you doing this a lot now?
Processing deer, and I make a lot of tamales and burritos for a friend of mine across the river that processes a lot of deer. So
Okay.
with that, I probably still got another month or so of just doing all that right now.
I got you.
Over
Wow.
a couple weeks.
I got you. Man alive. Bring me some of the tamales too. I'll take a dozen of tamales and 8 boudins. Them tamales, he said that he had some tamales that was better than his. I don't know how.
We did.
I did. I'm just be honest.
Wow.
Good.
And this was at a food truck that was down there?
At the rodeo, I think they got them out of Walmart parking lot in Houston.
Right.
They brought them to our tent.
Yeah,
Right.
they were definitely authentic. They were good.
Dang. That's
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Good evening from Texas. Congrats, Jason. That's Gabe. Glad to have you with us, Gabe. Lucas, late to the party. I remember these guys from Sonny's back in the day. Lucas from the land down under in Australia. Thank you, Lucas, for being with us. Good
What's up,
morning to
Lucas?
you over there, brother. So, oh, goodness gracious.
How about
Well,
you? How was your cook on that WSM? I know you were a little worried about that.
So I had never cooked a competition brisket on a WSM. I've only cooked my brisket on my rotisserie. So 163, 164 competitions. I had cooked about 3 briskets on my WSM when I do a lot of virtual cooking classes for corporations and stuff through Barbecue Champs. And I think I've cooked 4 briskets on it. So I kind of had a timeline. So the last 2 that I cooked were 5.5 hour briskets, and they would go on 2.5 hours. They would be at about 155 degrees, 155 to 158 degrees on the 2 that I did, and I usually wrap somewhere around there. They usually have really good color. So, and then when they're wrapped, it's 2.5 hours wrapped. It was 2 hours in the foil. 3 hours in the foil, and it was a 5.5 hour brisket, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself an extra hour, and I'm going to put them on. I put them on at 7:15, and my plan was 7:50, 8:50, 9:15, 9:45. I was going to wrap them things. Well, at 9:45, about 9 o'clock, I stuck a probe in it, and that thing was at 126 degrees, and I was like, I'm a long ways from 150. So I ended up having to go 3.5 hours instead of 2.5. And I gave it an extra hour, and it got up to 155, 156 degrees, pulled it off, wrapped it, and it looked great. Had a really nice bark on it. And man, I put that thing on, and it took forever to get through the stall. I was like, what in the heck? So that brisket took 6.5 hours to cook. It was a very, very, very long cook time, longer than what I wanted. And at 1 o'clock, I was checking the temp, and I knew at 1:50 it had to come out because 2:30 was going to be my time that he was going to be there. And it was 1 o'clock, and that brisket was 2:09. And I had already a couple times when I was the first part of that cook, when I was 2 hours in, I cranked that thing up. I was running it at 300. I cranked that thing up to 335 degrees to get it to 155 at 3 hours and 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, at least we sped it up. And I kept it at about 330 degrees for probably another hour. Started coming up on temp, so I backed it down a little bit to about 290. And man, I wished I hadn't have done that, because at 1 o'clock that brisket was 209. I was like, ain't no way it's going to be done at that temperature. I tempted it. I cranked it back up to like 325 degrees, and the brisket came off at 150, and it finally got tender at 150, and it came straight out of the full, right onto my rack, right back into the smoker, and sauced it. It had zero rest time. I'm talking about zero. So
Yeah,
when I
we actually pulled our meats off early. Ribs came off early. Brisket came off early.
really,
But the turn-in times vary so much. I had went take a little walk. Then whenever I peeked over the fence at you, I was telling you to go buy me a T-shirt about 10 a.m.
mm-hmm.
And I seen people walking by me with a turn-in box. I said, "Man, what are you turning in?" He goes, "Chicken." I was like, "Oh, could have had a heart attack right there." I mean, our brisket turn-in time was 3:45.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That was
Wow.
that was
it's
nice.
just so different, you know.
Wow. Yeah, we was turning in 10:30 chicken, 12:30 ribs, and a 2:30 brisket. Now that's when we put it in the box, and then 15 minutes later it went into the judges. So it was handed to the judges at 10:45, 12:45, and 2:45. Put it in the judge's hand. So
So that's another thing that was different this year. The time on your paper, it
yeah,
said 10:30. Is that the time your representative got there?
he got there at 10:30, and
That's
then
how it's
he's
always been. This year, that lady told us the meat has to be in by 10:30. So my timeline was a little messed up on ribs because I had a 1:30 rib turn in, and I was gonna let it stay on the pit cooking my sauce until 1:30. Well, she gets there about 1:10 and goes, "No, you got to have it turned in at 1:30." It's like it's never been like this before. It's just you never know what you're gonna get over there.
right, right. Now I had talked to my rep, and I was like, okay, chicken. He said, I'll be here at 10:30. It needs to be at the judges at 10:45. And I was like, okay, that ain't gonna be no. That's easy. It'll just come straight out of the. It's already gonna be ready. I ain't got to do nothing. Just put it in the box. I said, now this rib situation is a little bit different. Now I said, if you're gonna end up having these where I got to cut the rib at 12:30, and I got to have them turned in at 12:45, I'm telling you right now, I can't do that. I can't cut the rib. I would usually put a little sauce or something on the side, or au jus on the side of the rib. He said, if you do that, it's got to go back in the smoker. You can just put it in there a minute, pull it out, you're fine. And I said, but man, that's going to be pretty hard then to turn around and get it boxed. And then he said, let me tell you. He said, you do not get disqualified if you're 1 second late or something like that. That does not happen. He said, if we're running late to get to you and you're having a little bit of an issue, he said, do not worry. He said, we will call them. We will let them know that you are going to be a couple minutes late. We was late getting to you, or whatever the case is. You're not going to be disqualified. I said, okay. I said, well, that's good. I said,
I don't even know how they keep track of that. With
I,
a chicken turned into some 10:30, and we turned in at 11:45. There are
yeah,
chickens coming in that whole time. They don't know what time your turn in time was. Just
right.
you know.
Just go up there. Yeah, you're probably right. They probably don't.
I think
So,
you see that tape around that box, they let it go. You
yeah,
know,
I think so. Once it's taped, you're good.
tape and tapes it, they
Yeah,
find.
yeah. So it was pretty good. I told him, and we got ribs in. I mean, I had them in the box like at 12:44, right? And then I was like, let me have them. I'll haul my butt up there. And I mean, I was right there. We wasn't but like a minute and a half from turning. I think I got there right before 12:46. And then the brisket was not no big deal. I didn't sauce, didn't do anything stupid, and I just sliced it and did everything. And it is funny because when I first did it, I didn't know how it was going to be getting 10 slices in a box, right? So I did take the first two and I sliced them and put them in the back, stuck them together. And I did two. I put three more slices in front of it. So I've already got 3, 4, 5. I've got 7 slices in this box.
That's pretty good insurance.
And I'm like, this box wasn't even halfway full. I mean, I was like, and Max was there, and Max said, well, you only need like 3 more slices and we're good. And I was like, man, this box is going to be empty. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take them out. I can easily get 10 slices in this thing.
Yeah.
So I just took the 3 out in front and set. I pulled them 2 out and threw them off to the side. I had 2 more slices there on my brisket. Now they were kind of getting far from the point, but I wasn't worried about nobody eating them back slices. It's only 5 judges. So I hurried up. I put them 2 in the back. I grabbed the other 3 that already had in it, and then I stacked the rest of them in front of it. And I got 10 slices in that box without a problem. So, but for the people that have trouble, that's one thing that I would definitely, have, like, if there is a problem getting that many slices in there, you can at least cut the slice in half. So, and that was one thing. And when I seen it, I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to get my full slices in it. So I did, measure the box. I had a 6.5-inch wide brisket when I got there, and he said, all right, he came over, he gave me the dimensions. He said, the bottom of the box is 5 3/4 wide. It's 5.5 inches front to back. And I was like, man, I'm going to cut another 1/2 inch off that brisket. I'm going to make a 6-inch wide brisket. And I did. I made that brisket 6 inches, and it fit in there absolutely perfect, wall to wall. It didn't curl or anything. So,
Yeah. I wanted to put 10 ribs in the box, but she wouldn't let me. I've done that twice already.
Yeah,
I thought it was a minimum of 9, and
no,
I put 10 in, and she made me take 1 out.
Yeah, I think the rule said it has to have 9 ribs. I think it's what the rule said. It has to be 9 ribs. So anyway, but I did. I got 5 on the bottom. I put 4 on top. My ribs went in really nice. I was going to do 4 on bottom and 5 on top because the box is a little wider, but I didn't think they was going to sit good. So at the last second, I just crammed one down the side and smashed it over. I got it down in there. They were really tight. And then I put the 4 on top. My ribs, they looked really good. Brisket, everything was really good. I mean, I was super happy with the presentation on everything. So, anyway, but yeah, it's funny how all these rules are just a little bit different. It seems like, and like I said, if there's ever a question that you really have got a problem with your rep, and you feel like you're in the right and they're wrong about something, they're trying to throw some authority around, ask for his committee member and talk to them. Don't he said just don't get in an argument with them.
No.
That's the best thing to do. So, did Adam cut anybody with his jeans? Man, I saw people walking around there with cuts and stabs on their legs. With them babies were starched. He could have taken them things off and just set them there, and they would have stood there for a week. So,
I brought Band-Aids with me in my pocket just in case.
There you go. Raimundo, what's going on, brother? This is the guy that did the remodeling on my kitchen for the last, 4 months that we went through. So, Raimundo, you need to call me. It's time to go to the living room, brother. So, anyway, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was. And I'm really excited to see you guys do good. It's always good to see Louisiana represent amongst all the cooks in Texas. So, as Josh Michelli says, it should be illegal for these 2 Cajuns to be on the same team. I agree. They're already hard enough to beat by themselves. You can imagine when the 2 cooking together what that's like. So anyway, but it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. I cooked my chicken on my WSM. I had a guy that brought me a WSM, Brian. He brought me a WSM to cook on. It was different, I mean, it cooked good. Had great flavor. Man, I miss my rotisserie, but Am I going to cook my brisket on a drum? I probably not. I'm going to keep doing what got me there. So, um, let's see. Chicken blowouts. Man, I did not have any blowouts. I had a really, really pretty chicken. Did y'all stripe your chicken or not?
We
So
did not.
You didn't stripe it. Well, okay.
we cooked them on the Weber on a
Cook.
22.
Okay. Okay. I did my same chicken that I do on my 22-inch WSM. I
Those
did
little
it.
chickens, man, I'm scared to bust the skin all up, you know.
Nah.
So
So there was my chicken.
So
It was pretty nice. Good, beautiful grill marks. I wasn't mad at it. That's for sure. That was right before I was fixing to drop it
oh,
in the
that's pretty.
pan. It was a
yeah,
good looking. It was a good chicken. I
that's too
mean,
pretty.
huh?
That's too pretty.
Yeah, it was probably the problem. Yeah, I should have blown the skins out. It would have looked like a backyard chicken then. So, oh
Yeah, we
goodness
tried to keep
gracious.
it Texas style, just a pretty chicken, no grill marks.
Right, right. Use PK for my chicken. There you go. Hey, I saw a lot of people cooking on PKs. So,
I think we were running behind a little bit on chicken one time, so we rotated the grill for about 5 minutes. Then we
got
rotated. That was it. That's the only time we ever moved it.
getting it back over the fire. Yeah, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I just thought they would probably like grill marks on a chicken. I mean, Purvis won last year. I think he had grill marks on his. So,
Yeah.
I just think a good chicken's a good chicken. Me and Jason talked about this in Marksville. Man, I've done them with stripes and without stripes. I had a third at one with stripes. I went to the next one. I had a third and didn't put stripes on it. So I
Right.
don't really think it matters. It's just a good chicken's a good chicken.
Right.
So
A lot of times, I don't think the seasoning and all the sauce really matters too much. Not if you burn your sauce, yeah, but
right.
I don't know. I
I
think
don't.
pick that skin up and dig up in that and hope the meat's good.
That's it. That's it. 100%. Well, guys, I really appreciate y'all coming on. Adam, man, I'm sorry that you feel bad. I'm thankful that you was able to make it on the show. I don't want to keep you guys much longer. It's been a
Oh,
great
I'm going
show.
straight back to bed.
You go to bed, get you some rest. That's for sure. So, you guys want to thank anybody or any sponsors or anything?
Thank the Texas Social Club for having us. B&B provided our charcoal this weekend, and our tent has short rib drum smokers there for us to cook on, so we don't have to haul anything. So we really appreciate that.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Jason, you got anything?
Exact same thing. B&B, we cooked everything on the charcoal. Blake and them with short rib drums, and I mean Tom and
It's a big deal to have things there for you because, man, the
Yes.
parking situation and your access to your cook site is not good at all. So
No.
the minimal amount of things you can bring,
Yes.
the first year I think we brought drum smokers with us, and every year I'm trying to just bring less and less and less. And our tent or our Texas Social Club does a great job providing for us.
Right.
this
Yeah.
year we found out that my wife wasn't going and Adam's wife wasn't going. So I said, shoot, man, I got a little Honda CRV we drive around. I said, I can fit that Weber back of that.
There you go.
The
Yeah,
Weber
I got there.
CRV
I
loaded.
made. I got there on a Wednesday just to make sure I could get in and get set up. I brought one drum, a table, and I brought all my like rubs and anything I thought I needed. Electric knives, this, that, all my utensils and stuff. And man, I got it in there on Wednesday, got everything set up, and then I was like getting out of this place. They said you better get here early. I was there at 4:00, 4:30 Sunday morning. Man, they were already there at 4:30 in the morning. I got my stuff loaded up and I got my butt out of there. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. And well, guys, I really appreciate it. It was great seeing y'all this weekend. I'll see y'all, Lord willing, in a couple weeks, and we appreciate y'all being here. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in tonight. We really do appreciate it. Join us next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll have another show lined up for you. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Y'all have a great week. As we always say, go out there, have a lot of fun.